Good morning and welcome to Presence of Light with Charlie Riverman Bergeron. It's always a joy to be here and to um, share with you my thoughts and messages that come just before I go online here every Friday morning. They are really uh, gifts of my higher self and my guides to myself and to share with others. And I never, once again, never know what I'm going to talk about. So today is self imposed drama. And what I find in everything is the blessings um, of change. And many of us are not comfortable with change. Many of us have a sense of fear or uh, want to remain in a stable pattern that's comfortable, that's familiar. And right now, I'm going to say, basically impossible. Not that you can't, but you're going to have to struggle and fight to do that. And is it in all of our best interest for us to remain the same right now? When we look at the world, we realize that the world is a mess, a big mess. It's a big pile of chaos, and it's beautiful and wonderful. But we are going through this period, this time frame, I'll call it, for lack of better words. And in this process, we are all changing, whether we want to or not. It's part of um, the whole energy field. Good morning, Janice. Wishing good morning to one and all. Yes, one and all. Isn't that a beautiful saying? One and all. That's who we are. We are one and all. So this morning, as I started to write my show notes, which takes longer than I think when I start, and it just goes on and on and on. And but it's an important process. So I usually find words of other people to trigger my guides, um, because most of those messages that call my attention are my guides directing me to read them. And it's been a pattern of 30 years now that I've been doing this that's, now become a lot of fun. In the beginning, it was a little tedious and I couldn't understand what was happening. And so took me a while to embrace the fact that we are connected at so many different levels of awareness. And it's really our higher self that's communicating with other higher selves. So the first message that I read this morning was from Guruji Ma, and this is the message that it's part of a message, and she has a whole talk on it. But here's the quote that caught my attention. The first quote: "Many are disillusioned today, and many are discouraged." Let me move this up. Many are discouraged about holding all things as moving toward greater good. We are being asked to find an alignment, not with disillusionment, but with hope, and trust that a new future is being brought into being, and that out of chaos, disunity, and suffering will come a new valuing of human life. We are being asked to find an alignment, not with disillusionment, but with hope and trust that a new future is being brought into being. And so here is the beginning of what for me is this talk, uh, recognizing that my drama is self-imposed and learning how to accept that. How do I accept that as without feeling guilty, but just accept that as knowing that most of my aggravation, most of, and I will say ours, but it's mine as well, um, most of our issues are arising from issues that may have happened to us in the past, teachings that we've been taught, things that we have witnessed on television or in movies. So what happens is our mind has been imprinted. Our mind has been imprinted with thoughts and forms of thoughts and patterns of behavior. And it's stored there. It's part of our memory. Now we can say, well, I don't believe that. I know that's fake. Yet no matter what we see or engage and encounter in our lives, we store that information. And that's stored in our information mind in order for us to maneuver through the future and avoid the things that are dangerous or harmful and align with the things that are more positive or joyful. So this is just a common, every human being does it. We're not going into trying to deep, you know, psychoanalyze ourselves. It's just a process of the brain as part of our survival mechanism. Yet, as many of you know, I talk about we're not the brain. The brain is a part of us. The brain is just like your hand or your foot. If you don't have it, if it's not working right, you're not going to do things in a very rational manner. So what we're realizing now is that the irrationality that we're seeing in the world has been produced by what has been fed to the brain. Much like our health, our physical body health, the reason there's so much disease and failure of body systems is because we're not being fed proper food, and the food has been altered, everything has been poisoned, and we are suffering as a result of that. Now, people may say that's ridiculous. I'm trying to be a theorist here, or somebody who's being controversial, and it's not. You can look at any medical book and you can look at all of the things you want to look at, and they're all saying the same thing. They're just not saying that that's happening. What we have is a world that's more fascinated with creating solutions to problems that they made, rather than not creating problems. So those are my guides talking to you. So I have show notes, and then I have messages. So this morning, this is what the message is really, how do we release ourselves from that self-imposed the messages and that drama that we create as a result of it. And so the words that, as I start to write, they start to flow, and sometimes I'm just described. But what caught me personally was that I'm not alone. And that while these messages are generally for me, specifically, it's also to be told to the greater whole. That basically, if all of us start foreseeing a better world, right, our future generations will bring it closer to realization. We may not see it all in our lifetime, but we can see the beginning of this change right now. We can see where the harmfulness of what we're doing, and without pointing a finger at anybody or anything, is a collective harmfulness. And that each one of us, as part of that whole, if we change our thinking, if we change our action, then we are going to change the frequency and the direction of that whole pattern. Sounds impossible. I'm only one person out of almost 8 billion people. What effect could I have? Well, this is what we are taught, that we have no power, and that only, groups of leaders and corporations and all these other things have power. That's power. You as an individual are powerless. Well, I'm here to say that that's not the truth. The truth is that each one of us is just as powerful as all of them. The difference is we don't believe it. We don't honor it. Yet when we get together in groups like this around the world and gather, and even though we speak different languages, we come from different social and ethnic groups, we can all agree that, happiness and joy and abundance, having enough food to eat and having a place to live are important for all of us. We're all one in this. Yet when we look at the world right now, we see people who are starving to death. We see people who are homeless. We are seeing people who are having to leave their countries, flee in fear because of the harm that they exist in, the harmfulness for them and their families. And they say we're powerless, or we're going to put up a wall, or we're going to put them in farms, or hostels, or whatever. They're not animals. People are just like us. They're all just like us, no matter where we live. They are just like us. They just haven't had the ability or the education or the capacity to understand life at the level that we do. That's the only difference. But everything in their physical body is exactly like ours. They're not from another planet. They're not another, they're here. They're human beings. And we have to start to respect that in order to move out of this sort of insanity, if you will, this self-imposed drama. So the self-imposed drama is not only just about us, it's a self-imposed drama over all of humanity. As within the micro, also within the macro. There's no separation here. This is, again, another falsity that we've been taught, that if you separate things, that, you can take this part of the plant and manufacture it to be this medicine. When if you took the whole plant, it would be much better for your whole system. Okay? This is a process. And in that process, there is always the word profit. And I say this word realizing that we have created a world based on profit, not on human kindness, not on loving each other. And this is the result. It's not good or bad. It's just what happens when you create a civilization based on profit. Some will profit and some will not. And so I'm not condemning it. I'm not trying to make anybody right or wrong. I'm just trying to point out the facts that when we shift our thinking and our awareness back to the realization that each one of us, in some way, shape, and manner, are contributing to this drama, and we have a power within us to change that and start to walk along that path of change, even though it may seem small and impossible at times. Keep going. Keep going, because in this walk together of not being alone, the message of not being alone builds an energy field that can't be dismissed. It's not, you can dismiss 10 people, 100 people, 500 people. If you look at people who are protesting, how many are protesting? And yet they can be overcome. But when you have millions of people, then the price of controlling them becomes too great to those who want to control. Because in order to control them, they have to reveal who and what they truly are and what they're doing. And in that process, they will fight amongst each other because they don't want to be seen. They always want to be hidden behind the curtain. I always remember the Wizard of Oz, the wizard behind the curtain. And this is where we live. This is the world we live in. It is the land of Oz in many ways. And it was meant, that movie, I believe, was meant to be a vision of what the future would be for us, is to that, we are not as powerless as we think we are. And the message to Dorothy is, we've always had that power. And this is where we are now. We don't have to live in this self-imposed drama. So, again, that's the that word self-imposed hit me. And it's a realization that throughout what we might call a rough winter, spring comes. And for us in North America, we're heading towards fall and winter. And it can be sometimes very uneasy because we know. And so our ancestors, no matter where around the world, prepared for winter. We prepared, we gathered food, we built shelters, we, gathered together so we could survive. And this is what we're doing. This is the greater winter of humanity, this process of drama, this big drama. The next message that I read this morning is from Shanta Gabriel, and it's a very simple statement. It's, be grateful for all that you have and all that you are. Real simple. Be grateful for all that you have and all that you are. Take a deep breath. Relax. Are you grateful? How grateful are you? We look at that word in very, a lot of romantic and semantic ways, but the reality is gratitude, gratefulness, is really that place of ease within us. At least it's for me. When I'm feeling grateful, I'm feeling at ease. I'm feeling like I'm in the middle of the flow, that things are happening for a reason. And even though I may not like them, I know that as long as I stay in the middle of the flow, I will be carried by the current. That if I get off to either side, I'm going to deal with rocks or trees or whatever. So I know that the process of being grateful is to stay in the middle of the flow. And gratitude is really medicine. I was talking about medicine earlier, getting little pieces of the plants, the molecules, and making medicine. Gratitude is medicine. If you think of it as medicine, it becomes your medicine. And again, where our thought goes, it wants to be in that flow. None of us want to be agitated. None of us want to be angry. Those are symbols that we're out of alignment. We're not in the middle of the flow. We're over here on the edge, or over on this edge, or bouncing back and forth frenetically. And this is what we have to look within ourselves and find that place within ourselves that says, I'm out of control. And not beat ourselves up about it, but say, whoa, it's like driving a car. I just ran off the road. I got to start paying attention. Or I crossed the line. I could have killed somebody else and myself. These are the warning signals. This is what the human brain is designed to do, is to keep us in that middle flow, as well as all of the other wonderful things it does. But it's really an alarm system. I've been saying this over and over again for the past couple of weeks to people. It's your alarm system. Your alarm system's going off and you're not paying attention. What is your alarm system trying to tell you? Because we're all unique and we all have different ways of having been brought up, or our society or our culture, or our schooling is different. So we're all sort of, I don't like the word program, but for lack of better words, programmed to fit into a certain pattern. And what we're realizing right now is that pattern, or those patterns, the many patterns now, are not working. It's like the grid lines not connecting. And we have to be repairing those. And this, I do that. I work with energy and grid lines, and sending energy and connecting and reconnecting, or rewiring grid lines. We do that in our brain. It's the same thing. If we think of our head as planet Earth and all of these grid lines in there and that neural, if it gets messed up, you get messed up. So we have to rewire this. And I'm not saying this, you have to overthink this. I'm just saying it as visuals. So it's in the landscape. Our future is in the landscape. So the words that came to me is great gratitude is the medicine of our healing. Let us be grateful for all the small things that make us smile. First, what makes you smile? What brings happiness or joy to you? Is it your children? Is it your parents? Is it your neighbors? Is it your, the flowers in your yard? When people do kind things for each other, what brings you gratitude? What makes you feel grateful to be alive? And look for the small things. They're not, the big things are there, they're obvious, but look for the small things. A cup of coffee in the morning, do you feel grateful for that? Find that feeling of gratitude in your body. This is the medicine of our healing, is to come back to a presence of gratitude. And it's all about our hearts. This is where we feel the gratitude. It's the key to our heart. And when we can feel grateful, our heart opens, and it opens wider. So we can see that in the world, everything's shutting us down and the heart shuts down. And so as the heart shuts down, we pull away from each other. We need to come back heart to heart energy to heart energy. Not so much the physicality, but the energy of your heart, the energy of gratitude. And even the energy in the tiniest grin or chuckle from somebody has the power to transform energy in others. Think about it, people telling jokes or just a smile when you walk by. How do you feel? What does that do? It touches you. It touches you energetically. And as a result, you have that little moment, just that little second of, oh, that's nice. Oh, somebody smiled at me. Oh, that night, it was nice to. That right there is the key to our future. What brings joy to us? What brings happiness? What brings, that's the medicine. It's not a pill. It's not a disease that we need to correct with substances. It's a dis-ease. Dis-ease, meaning not at ease, not in the flow, that we need to correct. And if we correct that, the rest will start to fall in place. I'm watching time because you know how I can ramble on. I have to be careful. So let's be thankful. Let's learn to come back to being thankful for all the moments we find peace within ourselves and within nature. Nature is filled with moments that bring us peace. A pretty flower, the bees at the flower, a grasshopper. Yesterday I had a grasshopper in my hand. I haven't had a grasshopper in my hand for years. And it was so amazing just to be there in that moment with that grasshopper. Simple things. Don't have to be all of these big things like flying in a rocket ship to space because you've got billions of dollars. It's simple things. That's what it costs them to get that feeling. You can get it right here, right now, for $0. We've made up a world. We've made up a world that is no longer working. Let's come back to our hearts. Let's come back to the real landscape within us, the one that offers us grace and ease. It hasn't been swallowed up. The darkness hasn't won. It can't win. There's always light. The light is us. We are the light. We are the ones who will be the transformers, if you will, of the energies for all those who are suffering. My dear friend Mia, who is also known as Kalia, and her cards came up next. And what she presents for us is these words. I want to know God. I want to know me. I want to know all the wonderful things that can be. It's like a childish little rhyme. Just so simple. Let us become children again. We don't have to have all this convoluted scientific knowledge and language. Let's come back to the garden and play. Let's learn how to laugh with each other. Let's relearn to share our snacks with each other. You know, the memories coming now of like Valentine's Day when I was a little third grader or something, and we got those little hearts with little like, sayings on them. That's who we are. Little children wanting to share love with each other. Just was we grew up and accepted all of this responsibility, never killed that little child. That little child still lives within each one of your hearts. And that's what we're tapping into. The wonderful things that can be. When I look at the world, the word wonderful, the world wonderful too, but the word wonderful, I ask you to look at of it as filled with wonder. Think about in your life things that you might still be filled with wonder about. How does that make you feel? You want to know more. You want to figure out how it works, how it feels. And the wonder is, it's like magic. It's like, I don't know how that does it. But I know when it happens, I feel good. Do this within your own body. Find those things that make you feel filled with wonder. We're in this world now where information is so abundant, it's ridiculous. We don't need this much information. Part of it is we're overwhelmed with information. And the brain can only process so much. When the brain is overfilled with information to process, what is that doing to your physical body? It's taking away energy. So why are you getting sick? Why are you, suffering from illnesses and things, viruses, and all these other things in such a dramatic way? Because we're not well inside. We're not filled with wonder. Sounds somewhat ridiculous, doesn't it? I can attest personally that the amount of wonder and the amount of feeling love within your heart really is a medicine. It's a medicine. It's not going to make you, impervious to all diseases or whatever's going on. But if you happen to be inflicted with them, it'll be easier for you to go through. Just like it will be easier for all of us to go through everyday life as the future unfolds. And it's really the wonderful thing is us. We are filled with wonder. And it's a state of mind that has great, great, great potential. It tells us that nothing cannot be transformed into something brighter or better or more beneficial for everyone. Not just us, not just in a selfish way. It's about giving it away. It's about sharing it. It's like those little Valentine candies. For those of you who don't know who they are, that was a fun part of my childhood, as you can see, because it was giving. This is what I do now. I give. I don't have any offices. I don't have any websites that say, send me $22 and I'll read your fortune. I don't do that. I give it away just like I'm giving it away right now. This fills my heart with purpose. And it reminds me that I am you and you are me. And you hear me say that in the closings. And that's not said just as a cute phrase. It's said from the heart. And this is where the love and the light is within our hearts. And you all know this. I'm teaching the choir, I know that, but I'm only trying to reconfirm in you in these times that seem so dark and drawn out and painful, that within us we have the light and we have the love. And it's the potential. It's the potential of the future We are the keepers of that potential. And it's time for us to now look at that and ask within ourselves as to how are we going to offer this to the world so that the future generations will come into a world that has been, let's call it cleaned, somewhat cleaned. Let us prepare the world for the future generations of humanity, rather than being greedy and taking it all for ourselves and going on joyrides and partying while people are starving and suffering. It doesn't have to be a big thing. It just in your own neighborhood, in your own family. We all have people in our family who are not the most pleasant beings. They're angry, they're frustrated, and they're going to inflict it on somebody because they don't know how to deal with it within themselves. And it's our responsibility right now for many of us to be that light and that love, no matter how many times they slap us or attack us, because they can't kill the light and they can't kill the love. All they can do is reflect back at them at what they're missing. And for many, it will make them angry. And for those, you stay, keep your distance. Don't try to force it on anybody. But it can't be technically controlled anymore because this is part of the energy of the transmutation of planet Earth into its newer, higher beingness. And we are part of that. And Mother Earth is calling on us right now to care, to join her with within this evolutionary process, calling us forward into a new world of unimaginable wonder, moment by moment. Don't worry about next Tuesday. What are you doing right now? What can I do right now, right here? Yes, I can plan for next Tuesday to have this and do that, but what am I doing right now in this moment that is adding to the positive energy of each of you, each person in my household, each person in my community, the animals, the trees, the fish, the water, the earth, the sky, the air. It's all part of us. We can't live without each other. It's really third grade. Before we get this brain that says me, mine, ooh, I want, got to have. Allow this morning's words to enter into your heart. Allow your minds to flow with love and light. And know that we're in this hallway. We're in this hallway, this long hallway, traveling down this hallway. And even though it may be dark in spots and many fearful questions might arise within that walk down this long hallway, at the end there's a door where the light shines in. Many people share near-death experiences like that, trying to put their words into some human concept where the light shines in and they come to peace. They're at peace and love. And maybe for the first time in their non-existence at that moment, they understand the power of who they truly are. And I offer that to you because of my journey, my coming back, and my realization that even for me, things get out of control. Even though I've experienced all of that, the world gets to me. The difference is I have that place in my heart where I can go as a chamber of love and light and peace. And yesterday during the Global Heart Team, um, a poem came up for me, which I usually write a poem for, but it was an old one, and I redid it for with today's sort of message. On the topic of the day was basically opening our personal heart. And this is what I'm talking about today is opening our personal heart. And these are the words. It was originally written in 2015. And that was before I did any of this. And yet I reworded it just a few words and sentences to bring it into this moment. Opening our present heart. In our seemingly long journey, we have not traveled far, for we are only one heartbeat away from our beginning. When we share in the truth, we are guided to speak without fear or ego, and those who listen will hear us. Each heart joined with each other and linked to the unified source of our presence will change the world. I offer my peace, light, and love to you. And I'm going to post that in the sidelines for each of you to have, they'll say posting this comment as humanity healing, but that's I am. We all are. We all are humanity healing. And I ask that each of you be gentle and kind with yourself, to look at the possibilities and opportunities where opening your heart and keeping it open is beneficial for everyone. Doesn't mean you have to be a martyr. Doesn't mean you have to keep it open all the time, even when somebody's attacking you. No, always respect who you are. But know that the roles that we're going to play in this coming future are very important, not just for us, not just for our children and our grandchildren, but for all of humanity that will continue to process through and come here and be and live. We are the ones, as we always say, we are the ones we have been waiting for. And I admire and I'm in awe of each one of you, because I know that each one of you are going to do something unique, something that only is, you're going to do it, and you're going to do it in your own fashion. And when I think about that, all I see is light and love. I love you. I thank you. I respect you. I am you. You are me. We are unity. One heart, one love, one humanity. May each of you have a wonderful week. May some of my words sink into your hearts and be who you really are. Be the light and the love. And know that you're not alone. There are millions of us here, not just thousands, millions. We're just awakening. We're like the flowers blossoming. It's spring. I know it feels like, and for those of you in the southern hemisphere, yes, it is. You're coming into spring. Be, arise, love. Bless you all and thank you all. It's always a joy to be here and pass the word that love is cool. Time to put your love shirt on. Let's go, love. Blessings, dear hearts and gentle people. See you next Friday. Or you can visit me on Facebook or in my blog or wherever I am. I tell people just Google Charlie Riverman. Somewhere they get all this information about me. I don't know how they did that, but that's their magic, not mine. Love you. Bless you all.